Hello, class. Integrated 3, first assignment of the year, graphing linear inequalities in one variable. If you had the honor and pleasure of having me for Integrated 2 last year, you can remember that I did this for you right before we ended the year. A few weeks before, I said we're going to do the first few assignments of Integrated 3 at the end of Integrated 2. So if you were in that group of Integrated 2 students last year, you probably remember this. If not, then hello for the first time, and we'll see if you remember this from earlier in school or if this is brand new. Either way, hopefully you have successfully logged into your Core Focus account. You'll notice here, if you look at this arrow, that my name, Dylan Daniel-Hoffman, is up here in the top right corner. Please make sure always that that is your name. If you have somebody else's account that you're logged in for, you're going to end up doing the work for them. And that might be a great surprise for them, but really frustrating for you when you realize that you are not getting credit for any of the work that you're doing. So make sure your name matches the top right in the screen. And then you are going to see Attempt Quiz Now. Click that button if you haven't already. When you do, you will see the following screen come up with similar problems to mine. Very often they will not be the same problem. Sometimes they will, but most of the time there's at least going to be a difference in the number. So make sure you're always looking at your problems and answering for your problems, not mine, even as you look and see how to do it when I do the ones on my screen. Separately, also come over here to the right window. I recommend you open a separate window with this Desmos calculator. You can get there by following this URL, desmos.com/calculator. And always having this up. Also, in general, you can click on the PowerPoint link from the screen, the home screen of any of these assignments. You see how it says Notes/PowerPoint. I went ahead and opened that over here in this right window because today that's going to be extremely helpful. If I scroll down, you'll see not just a reminder about what these symbols are, these inequalities, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Notice the equal to's have the line underneath. But also, if you scroll down, this screen right here is going to be really important to us. It's going to allow us to match up our graphs. And you'll see that greater than -1 is an open circle at -1 shaded right. Less than -1 is an open circle at -1 shaded left. Greater than or equal to -1 is a closed circle going right, and less than or equal to -1 is a closed circle going left. Notice that the direction of the arrows matches the direction of the shading. So if it's pointing right, it shades right. If it's pointing left, it shades left. So if you look at number 1, we'll see an open circle going left. For me, that matches down here. And so I need to type in X. And then a less than symbol, you can get there by holding the shift key and pressing your comma toward the bottom right of your keyboard. And then here's where we might have a difference. Look at what number is below your unfilled circle. For me, it's -4, so I type -4. For you, if it's a different number, don't type -4. Type the number you see on your screen. When you do that right, you should see a correct symbol in green. It matches the green up here. If you miss it, simply just hit this redo question button. If you got it right, please don't hit the redo question button unless you want to do a similar problem again. You're just going to create more work for yourself. Number 2 is a filled in circle now going left. So let's go down here. Oh, we need this less than or equal to. Now there's no symbol on your keyboard. There might be a Chromebook shortcut if you Google that. But for now, let me just show you where you can access this on your screen. Everybody look at this division sign here, and you see how there's a little arrow right there? Click that. You'll see when you do, it pulls up this bonus menu of all sorts of icons, 2 different ways of writing multiplication, and then the 2 symbols we want. Okay, so we in this case we want less than or equal to, and in front of that we want to do an X. Always X first, less than or equal to, and then the number below my filled in circle. For me that's 3, so I type in 3. All right, awesome. Then I can move on to number 3. Number 3 is a filled in circle going right. So I'm going to go ahead and just type my X first. Then go back to this menu. I see the greater than or equal to sign now at 1. with these videos all year. If you ever need me to go slower, or you were sort of dozing off mentally and or physically and need to go backwards, just simply click backwards in the video, rewind it as many times as you need to. It really is an advantage for you to be able to watch this video and follow along, because we're human. Sometimes you gotta go to the bathroom. Sometimes you're just thinking about something in your life and you sort of aren't paying attention. That's fine. That's what makes this video so great. You can totally do this at your own pace. Open circle going right is just a regular greater than at -5. When you get all 4 of these done, congratulations, you're halfway done with the first assignment. And now you can do what in many ways is the first sort of challenging problem of this lesson. And for this, I recommend writing this down. So if you need to pause this video now and go grab something to write with, write on, there could be a pencil, a pen, a notebook paper, you could write on an envelope, whatever you have lying around, grab that out, hit pause, and then when you have what you need, come back and I will walk you through this. All right, welcome back. So write down this equation, the one you have for number 5. So not this one specifically, but the one you have in this spot on your screen for number 5. 5x minus 8 is less than or equal to 12. 5x minus 8 is, for me, it's greater than or equal to 12. I'm going to try to remember that. 5x minus 8. 5x minus 8 is greater than or equal to 12. All right. Because this is the first time we have done a problem like this, an algebra problem this year, I'm going to remind those of you who've had me before of some things, and those of you who haven't, again, it's so great to have you in class. Nice to meet you. We're going to do this for the first time. So you have heard many years in math, PEMDAS is the famous expression. You maybe memorize this as, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Oh, I forgot the division letter. There you go. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Sometimes it's all sorts of different things you could memorize for this. Some school appropriate, some not so school inappropriate. For me, I like to just remember this as what normally happens when you do mathematical expressions. So we've got parentheses, we've got exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. That's pretty standard. But what separates when I teach this from maybe other teachers you've had is I still like to think about this, but backwards when we do algebra. Because when you do algebra, you're basically doing all of your steps backwards to solve for x, and it's opposite what you normally would do for PEMDAS. Well, PEMDAS backwards is SAD MEP, but we don't end up having parentheses many of the time. So I refer to this, my students over the years have gotten a chuckle out of this because it is kind of emo. But sad me, the most emo expression, emo acronym in mathematics. Sad me, you can just think of somebody who's having a tough time. Maybe they're in middle school, just broke up with their first girlfriend or boyfriend. They've got Evanescence just blaring in the background. It's a tough time for them. But what that means is, first we are going to subtract and add, then we're going to divide and multiply, and finally we're going to do exponents. It's a 3-step problem. We will not always do all 3 steps, sometimes just steps 1 or 2, and even sometimes throughout the year we'll just have step 3. But if we have addition and multiplication, for instance, we got to do the addition first, then multiplication. All right, the other thing is I am a triplet. Maybe you were there on the first day of school when I was able to tell that story. Maybe not. I don't know if we've had the first day of school traditionally this year, depending on what year you're watching this. So in general, just know I'm a triplet. And as a triplet, that means I had 2 siblings that were born basically the exact same time that I was. I'm the youngest, meaning I was always especially careful to care about what I was receiving from our mom for like snacks. And we always had to receive the exact same amount of snacks. Even if it was goldfish crackers, for instance, that were being handed out. You always had to receive the same exact amount of goldfish crackers, because if it was off by even just 1, there would be a war. Similarly, you can notice that I've drawn this line straight up and down between the 2 sides of our equation. Think of this almost like an equal sign too. If this is throwing you off in the middle, just don't worry about it. But the key is you have to add or subtract. For instance, if I'm adding 8, the first step to this equation, I must do that on both sides. If I do not, it is a mathematical war that has gone on, just like my brothers and I getting different amounts of goldfish growing up. We want to stay away from that. We don't want that. So make sure always you add or subtract or multiply or divide, whatever, both sides equally. When you do that, you get 5x is equal to, and by that I mean greater than or equal to, 12 plus 8 is 20. Now, why did I add both sides there? You're always going to do the opposite, little algebra review. So I not only need to do the subtracting and adding first, I always need to do the opposite. So if it's minusing 8, I have to add 8. Why the 8 and not the 12? I'm getting everything away from x. Eventually I want x to be the only thing left here. So I add 8 to both sides. Now I just have 5x is greater than or equal to 20. If you ever forget what to do here, it's a little graphic, but think about these as rabbits. I've got 5 and an x directly next to each other. There's no plus sign, there's no minus sign, there's no multiplication, division, nothing. They're just touching. And if they're touching, it's like two rabbits that are touching. And what do two rabbits often do when they touch? They multiply. And what is the opposite of multiply? Well, the m goes next to the d, divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5 because I want this to cancel. And now the only thing left is x, and then I have that greater than or equal to sign, and then 4. Pause right now if you need to catch up and do a little bit of back work, but no, always do the opposite of adding and subtracting first, then always do the opposite of multiplying and dividing. When you get your answer, like mine is greater than or equal to 4, I'm going to close out of this. Again, pause it if you need this, or rewind if I'm going too fast. Greater than or equal to 4 means, as you can see on the right again, closed circle going right. So, boom, right there. It's filled in at 4, going right. So I click that, scroll down, hit check. And there you go. Now I can apply sad me to my next problem. I'm just going to write it over here in the margin. 3x minus 6 is greater than negative 12. Again, it's straight down the middle. I need to do the opposite, adding and subtracting first. I'm subtracting, so I add 6. Again, the 6 to get it away from the x. Negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6. Then I divide by 3. Got to get rid of those rabbits. X greater than negative 2. So I should have an open circle at negative 2 going right there. Okay, again, use your problem, your answers, your numbers, because you're going to have different ones than me. Cool. 2 left. Now we have a situation where we have numbers on one side and x's on the other will be our goal, because right now we just have both. 10x, where am I going to write this? I guess right there. 10x minus 3 is greater than 2 plus 5x. Straight down the middle. All right, I need to get my x's on one side and my numbers on the other. Another one of the sayings, like sad me and the rabbits thing and the triplet thing from my class, is I have a choice here, okay? I have a choice to whether I will bring one of my x's to the left side or the right side, whether I want to bring my numbers that don't have x's on the left side or the right side. The trick that I always tell myself is, when in doubt, like in life, I always want to try and keep my x's positive. Have a positive relationship with those that you break up with. And so, in that vein, I'm going to make sure that whatever I do when I add or subtract is going to keep the x values positive. So I can subtract 10x from both sides, or I can subtract 5x. They're both positive, so that's why I would subtract. I want to subtract the lower one to make sure that when I do, the overall x stays positive. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to subtract 5x. Notice how I'm writing it underneath the other x. That cancels on the right. On the left, that gets stuck with 5x. I still got this minus 3 over here. Greater than 2. Once I have moved my x to the left, that means I can move my number to the right. So I've got minusing 3 Now I can do the opposite and add 3. Now I can access my rabbits here. 5x is greater than 2 plus 3 is 5. Notice how everything flows directly underneath itself from top to bottom. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. So right underneath that, I've got x is greater than 1. And once I get that far, I can look over here to my graph and remind myself that greater than is an open circle, shaded right. So I want to find the open circle at 1, shaded to the right. Oh, look, it's my second choice right there. Again, pause this right now if I'm going too fast, and then hit play when you're done. When you do, you will see me click this problem. If you haven't made a careless mistake and you solved the right graph, you should be done with 1 through 7. If you have to redo it, redo it. No, in general, you shouldn't get a decimal on any of these. So if you do something where you end up getting a decimal when you divide, that's going to be a problem, and just redo it right there. The final one, the challenging problem of it all. We need to do a few things here. This is the first one, we're a little middle school review. We have got what some call the rainbow method here. What we know in the math world is the distributive property, because we need to multiply this -2 through everything inside the parentheses. And when we do, it kind of resembles a rainbow, if you think of every step as a different color. So let's start by doing that. -2 times x is -2x. In fact, actually, let's write that in red so that I can match the colors there for you. And then in green, you see we had -2 times 7. That's -14. And then we have, I'll just write the rest of this in black, greater than or equal to -14. When you do that, now you'll have a problem that's similar to what we had before. And when you have that, we can start with our SADME. The opposite of the adding and subtracting. I don't think we've had any of that, on mine at least, that we've had to subtract. Add 14 to both sides. -2x is greater than or equal to -14 plus 14. If I add anything with a negative of itself or subtract the negative from whatever I have, you get 0. Then I do my SADME step. -2 divided by -2. Now check this out. This is the first time in our assignment so far that we are multiplying or dividing, in this case dividing, by a negative. There is one last crucial step, and if you have skipped ahead in this video, you might have already missed this, and so now you're going back and watching it. Here's what you did wrong. When you divide or multiply by a negative, you must take this middle sign and flip it. So if it was pointing right now, it flips around and points left. That's why I wrote it in a different color in purple. And then we still do our division. 0 divided by anything, 0. So I have a filled in circle at 0, but it's not pointing right. Instead, it's pointing left. When it is pointing successfully and you have it filled in, click that. You should be done, but remember for sure to flip the circle, just as it says in one of these example problems. I think it's this. Yep. See how over here it shows you when you divide by a negative, you got to flip that sign because you're dividing by a negative number. All right. When you have that, click check. This was a longer video than many of ours will be because we had some explanation of the first time of doing SADME and the triplet thing and the rabbit thing. All those I will just refer to from now on and not give as much of an explanation. Hit submit all and finish twice when you get all 8 of them right. Hopefully you will see that 100% when you do. And it's just a glorious thing to start the year off with 100. Hopefully this video was helpful. Sorry it was a little bit long. Ones in the future will be shorter for sure. As always, I hope this video finds you safe, happy, healthy, and well. Best wishes on your day. This has been Class with Dylan.